Hey everybody, my name is Kat. I am the project coordinator for the East Northport Drug and Alcohol Task Force. I am the interim youth coordinator for One Life, the youth coalition that's organized this entire week. I think most importantly, I'm a Northport girl. I'm so excited to be part of Wellness Week. I have Mr. Cosmo in the background here for a little talk about breathing. I've been a yoga instructor for many years now. I teach yoga, meditation, and breathing on a regular basis, and I decided that I'd love to share my favorite self-care practice, which is breathing. Something that is so readily accessible. We always have our breath with us. We can use it anytime, anywhere. It's something that's seemingly very simple, something that we do automatically. We hardly even think about it at all throughout the day, but yet controlling the breath and breathing in an intentional way can be quite challenging. And so I'm going to just guide you through a really simple practice that you can incorporate in your everyday. You know, oftentimes we, feel anxious or stressed out, and when we have those experiences, our body goes into a fight or flight mode, which is really the body telling itself that it's under threat. Some of the symptoms that might arise are your heart rate increases, you begin to sweat, you feel sort of disoriented, you might lose focus, and your heart rate, your breathing becomes rapid and short. Oftentimes, too, we hold our breath. So as you become aware of how you breathe, you start to realize that in times of stress, we tend to hold our breath, or the breath becomes very shallow. So when we breathe deeply and intentionally, we're telling ourselves and our bodies and our brains that all is good, that we're not under threat, and we can handle whatever comes our way. It's really, for me, something that anchors me in the present moment. And when I'm in the present moment, when I'm in the moment right now, it really helps me take the next step forward or take things in stride. And overwhelming things, things that cause a lot of anxiety, all of a sudden start to feel a bit more manageable. So when we breathe deeply, we reverse all that stuff. Our heart rate begins to slow down. Our breathing becomes slower. The body begins to come back to homeostasis. Things start to happen again. Our digestion resumes. And it's just a really great way of kind of self-soothing. So I'd like to do a really simple practice with you. And before we do that, I just want to describe to you what I mean by it becomes really kind of challenging to breathe in a different way when we start to notice our breath, because oftentimes we're holding the breath higher in the chest. Tristan, in another video, actually talks about that. We kind of hold the breath up in the chest. If you breathe in, kind of the automatic response is to go like this. And really, that's not the natural way that our bodies are intended to breathe. So we have a diaphragm that kind of cuts the torso in half. So if you can imagine the bottom of the rib cage and the belly being two separate spaces, the diaphragm is this sort of sheath of fabric, if you will, that separates the top half and the belly from each other. And when we breathe in, the diaphragm expands like an umbrella opening. So it goes, and then as we exhale, the diaphragm comes in towards the body. So you might feel the belly kind of coming in and up. The diaphragm sort of scoops up. And then as you inhale, it goes out again. And then as you exhale, the diaphragm comes up. So that's kind of the movement. So before we kind of get into more of that belly breath or a diaphragmatic breathing, all I want you to do right now is just take a moment. If you're standing, I'd like you to find your feet on the ground. Maybe you step your feet hip distance apart from each other. You look down at the ground. You say, hello, there are my feet. If you'd like, you can take a comfortable seat. So I'm sitting on a bolster. If you're seated, I'd like you to really lift up your spine really nice and tall. You can take your hands on your upper chest, feel your collarbones here. Allow your chest to be really nice and wide. So this intentional setup allows for the lungs to have enough space so that we can really take a deep breath in. So once you're seated, your spine is nice and tall, your collarbones are spread, maybe your shoulders just settle down. You might notice that you're like this. Just settle them down. You might close your eyes or you might just soften your gaze. And then I'd like you to take a moment here just to notice your own breathing. Nice and simple. No changing, nothing too deep, just sort of noticing. So take a moment here, notice your breath. This may be one of the first times that you've done this in quite a while. So if it's difficult to find your own breathing, go ahead, take a deep breath in through the nose. And then exhale through the mouth. So that's one of my favorite practices is audible breathing. So something that makes a little bit of a sound. So inhaling. Maybe two more. One more. So I like to do that exercise just to, wake myself up, get myself connected to my own breathing. So we're gonna do a breathing exercise called, like another presenter said, diaphragmatic breathing, meaning that we're gonna kind of ignite the diaphragm. But I like to simply just kind of call it belly breathing. Before we begin, I just want to let you know that sometimes when we change our breath or we're a little bit more intentional about our breathing, we can experience more feelings of anxiousness, or you could feel kind of like caught, or you can feel maybe lightheaded or dizzy. So I just invite you to do whatever feels best for you right now. If at any point you're feeling like, oh, I can't do it, just come right back to the normal way of your breathing and then begin again whenever it feels best for you. So we're going to take our hands and you're just going to place them on your belly. And I know that, some of us may really want like tight abs or something, but I just want you to kind of loosen your belly. Allow your belly to kind of stick out a little bit. Not really that we're like clunking it forward and arching our backs, but just allowing the muscles to release. If you can hear Cosmo in the background, he's growling. So if you take a moment right here, just notice your breath. And then I'd like you to take a deep breath in and let the belly expand outward. So you almost push the belly button out towards your hands. So inhale. And then as you exhale, you're going to kind of press really, really gently on your belly button. Your belly button's going to come back in towards your body. Let's just do a couple more like that. So inhaling, let the belly expand. And then exhale. Let's do a couple more. Inhaling. Inhale and exhale. Go ahead and do 2 more on your own. Allow your hands to release down onto your lap or maybe by your sides. Come to your natural way of breathing, just releasing the exercise. Maybe just taking a moment to notice how you feel, whether that's physically or emotionally or mentally, just simply noticing. And you can open up your eyes and you can release the practice. So, just a couple of things just to review what we talked about. Something that's an accessible, easy tool to use is our breath. In times of anxiousness or stress, our bodies react in a way as if it's under threat. And so the breath is a great tool to tell your brain and your body that all is good. A simple practice that you might incorporate at first is just simply noticing your own breathing. Notice if you've held it into the chest, or maybe you notice that you're holding your breath in certain situations. And just coming back, breathing normally. If you feel it's difficult to access your breath, you might want to make a little bit of sound. A nice big sigh always feels really good. And then, as you explore your deep breathing practice, a great tool is a nice big belly breath. So just remember that as we inhale in, allow the belly to kind of spill out, the diaphragm moves down, and as you inhale, the belly comes back in and the diaphragm moves up. So that's kind of the proper way of breathing. And just know that it can be challenging at first, but like anything, with practice, things become easier, and the benefits begin to grow. So that's really it. I just want to thank you so much. I hope that you found this really helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to direct message or DM us on Instagram at OneLifeNPT. I'm grateful to be the leader of that coalition, grateful to work with Mr. Ferrandino on a daily basis, and I'm just grateful to serve the Northport High School community. It's where I was brought up, and so it's just awesome to be a part of this. So thank you so much, and I hope everybody's healthy and well.